Are we live? Okay. I will call the Southbury Board of Selectmen regular meeting August 20th, 2020 to order in room 205 at 7:01. I think we have. Can we have the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And just to note that Selectman Rosen will be joining us. He has joined us remotely, and he is basically in on the meeting. So
I am here.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mike.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Can I make a motion to add the Pierce Hollow Village project to new business?
Is your mic on?
I have to take the mask
Okay, sorry.
off. Can't hear you.
Make a motion to add Pierce Hollow Village to new business?
Second?
Made and seconded. Okay. Under new business, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And it carries. We'll add that to under new business, Pierce Hollow Village. Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment. If you could state your name and where you live, and please keep it limited to 2 minutes,
Take this or?
whatever you prefer.
Okay. Michelle Barnes, Southbury, Connecticut. I just felt the need to come this evening because I found that it was posted on Mr. Rosen's private Facebook that someone told him that while we had the Freedom Rally last Saturday, August 15th at Playhouse Corner, people in our group used the negative term N-word towards the people that showed up across the street to protest our being there. And I need to clarify the fact that at no time was the N-word ever used by us at that group. It was a freedom rally. There were children and families there. We began with the Pledge of Allegiance. We had a beautiful singing of the national anthem. Chaplain led us in prayer at the beginning, and we had a few people that spoke. The purpose of the Freedom Rally was to show support for the police and to support the American values and principles of this country. About an hour into our being at Playhouse Corner, a group of 3 to 4 maybe white girls, young girls, showed up across the street, protesting obviously our being on the other side. They shouted some words. They also shouted all Black Lives Matter. We in turn replied by saying all lives matter on our side. At that point, one of the girls, and I wouldn't refer to as a young lady, turned around, lifted her butt towards us, and put her hand on her butt as to say, you know what, my butt, okay? Which was very discourteous, especially with children being present. Shortly thereafter that, a black car came by. A group of young people in the car had signs, F you. They yelled the words F you out to our group. They gave us the bird. They went down South Main, came back up again, did it a second time. Another car later went down, did the same thing again, had the signs up, BLM, FU, blah, blah, the whole 10 yards. Very disgraceful behavior on their part, but obviously they don't know how to act like mature adults, okay? No one bothered them when they have come on every Sunday to the corner of Playhouse Corner. Interestingly, and very appreciated, believe me, because we were there to support the police, a police car did show. I'm up already, 2 minutes? Oh. Police car did show up across the street at Bank of America, and then a police car did show later on over behind Subway, obviously to support us, to make sure that nobody got hurt, because the people across were obviously looking to antagonize us. Okay? This rally was to show that we love our country and we love each other. It was not for the purpose and intent to sow hatred and division, which is what they were trying to do across the street, okay? Later found out that one of the persons across the street ran to our side, grabbed a sign belonging to one of our people, took it, stole it, and then later got arrested for doing that. So it needs to be on record. We never used the N-word, as was posted, that he was told, Mr. Rosen was told that word was used. It was not. And we were very courteous, and it's very disheartening to see people try to divide the town of Southbury. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Good evening. I'm Marion Pelletier. I'm from Woodbury, Connecticut. I was with the group at the Playhouse Corner. Basically, I still have a sore arm from trying to get people to honk their horns. But yes, after about an hour, two or three young people, like high school kids or college kids, showed up across the street. Mostly they were females. They were holding up like torn pieces of cardboard with words scribbled on them to Black Lives Matter. They yelled their phrase, and again we yelled back, all lives matter. And again they turned, I repeat everything that Michelle said, they turned and they waved their rear ends at us and slapped their rear ends and made some negative comments. And then a couple more came, one left, a couple more came back. It ended up being about 6 or 8 individuals across the street. And the car that drove by was doing different kinds of symbol. It did the middle finger and another kind of a symbol. I'm not sure. I think it was the pinky and the index finger kind of thing. I don't know what that means, but they were yelling negative phrases, as Michelle had stated. And but I got them. They honked anyway, so they counted for our honks. But again, no one in any way, shape, or form used the negative N word in the course of the 2 hours that we were there. Just wanted to reinforce that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody other public comment? Wow, 3. Nice.
Hi, I'm Vivian Michaels. I'm from Southbury. I'm not going to repeat what they said. I confirm the same information. So I'm just going to add something a little bit different. I was there also. I was very proud to be part of it. The girls across the street were shouting Black Lives Matter, which they have a right to do. And I decided to walk across the street. I walked across the street carrying the American flag. I went over to them and I asked them if we could have a dialogue. I really wanted to reach out to them to say, we're not really divided when you come right down to it. We are not divided. We also condemn police brutality. I think it's been exaggerated in the media. And we too support Black lives and all lives. Her attitude was, how dare you say that with the shirt you're wearing? I was wearing a shirt that said, Trump is my president. So there you go. She just challenged me and demeaned what I was saying. So I had said, that this is not contradictory with what I just said. Our President Trump supports all Americans. And she said, well, he's a racist. I said, can you give me some examples? And she said, well, everyone knows it. So I said, well, I could give you many examples of how President Trump has helped the Black community. Interestingly, there were no blacks there. But anyway, so I started to count down some of the ways that President Trump has helped the Black community. And she said, well, he didn't mean it. So, like, she knows what's in his heart. His actions speak for him. So anyway, she said, I know what I'm talking about because I'm a political science major. And she said, please, ma'am, she was polite, but she said, please, ma'am, back off from us. Well, I was no threat to her, just ideologically, I guess.
That's 2 minutes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So anyway, can I just
Your
finish
time
one
is up.
thing?
Your time is up.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Someone called us the Bund, and we are not the Bund.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on from that part of our agenda.
Can you recognize Mike and see if you can hear him and he can hear you? When he's having-
Mike, can you hear us? Mike, can you hear us? Boy, this technology drives me crazy.
Do you want to call him on your cell and put him on speaker?
I can do that.
Reminds me of that planning meeting. That was a fun time.
Let me, oh, that's all right. Put it mom. Sorry. Well, that ain't gonna happen.
Freudian slip.
Okay, here we are.
Will you be able to hear everything afterward? Are This is recording.
Yeah, there's a camera right there.
Mike, this is Jeff.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Hey, Jeff, I can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. So we will leave you on the speakerphone on the selectman's phone. Okay. So we're moving on. Not announcements and correspondence you have before you. You have your reports before you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second?
A motion made and seconded, and any discussion on the consent agenda?
I'm going to be abstaining as Connecticut Residential is a current active business partner of ours, and one of these properties is something we're actively engaged in the sale of.
Okay. Will you be from one particular? Which one is that? From that particular?
Would be the driveway bond releases.
Okay. You want to just recuse yourself from the whole thing, or just get it through?
I'll just
Okay.
abstain.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Mike, so everybody, and one abstention, which is Justin and Betty. Okay. Minutes of August 20th, 2020 regular meeting. Do I have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve?
Jason has made the motion. Mike has seconded it. Thank you, Mike. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mike? Aye, Mike. Okay. Any opposition? Any abstentions? And that passes. Unfinished business. We're discussing the Region 15 vacancy for discussion. In the past, we had a process we used before, and I think it worked pretty well. Mike, I believe you were working with Jason on questions for the executive session. So I think what we could do or propose to do is to invite all of the applicants to our next regular monthly meeting and introduce themselves to the board of selectmen and their interest in being on the board of education. Does that sound
In public session, right?
in public session?
Preliminarily, okay.
Right. And from there, I think, Jason, you were talking. We bring them in for discussion at executive session individually. I think we could do that. Maybe we do that at a special meeting.
Yeah, what we did last time was we invited everyone to come and give a public, who they are, why they're running, which I think is important because it's a public office. And ordinarily, people would go through an election process, so I think it's important for the public to see who it is we're considering for the position. And then we had a couple of special sessions, I don't remember how many, we needed to schedule everybody. And we asked uniform questions to each. Mike and I got together and prepared a list of questions. We still have that list, so I think we can start with that and maybe circulate that to the members of the board to see if there's any comments on the list we used last time, and maybe even reach out to our Board of Ed members to see if there's any particular things they'd like to. And we did that last time too. We got input from Board of Ed members on the types of questions and things they'd be looking for in candidates and stuff like that. And then schedule special meetings to meet with all these folks.
Okay.
There's 11 resumes.
Hang on, Mike.
11 resumes have been submitted. If they all want to be interviewed, I assume we'll interview them all. Maybe a couple will drop out before the interview process for whatever reason. But how long did we go last time? Was it a 30-minute interview, I think?
I think it was about that.
Yeah, we just did.
Yeah, I don't remember, but somewhere around there. We did like a number. We did like a lot of them each night.
Yeah. did like 3 a night.
So it's gonna
Well-
be multiple days of interviews. We can't do them all. If 10 people wanna get interviewed, we can't do them all in one day.
Well, I think the most you're gonna do in a night, to be respectful to the board members, is maybe 4. I mean, 4 and 4 is 8, 3 more is 11. You know, if somebody something happens, they have to go to so we're expecting probably, it would be, I would anticipate 3 days, half hour each session. So what I think we'll do is we'll get that out. Mike, I don't mean to disregard you. You're there. Did you have something?
No. I think, yeah, I think that makes complete sense.
Okay.
That's a good process.
Okay. So, what we'll do is I'll invite them to the next Board of Selectmen's meeting. Public to express their credentials and why they want to, talk why they want to be on there. And then, let's set up, right after that, let's get some scheduling for special meetings, according to our calendars, what we could fit in right after that. Let's schedule that, expecting right after that to have to do the special sessions of the Board of Selectmen. Come in, open up the meeting, go into executive session, and bring the candidates in and then adjourn. Make sense? Jason, if we could ask Jason and Mike, would you like to work with Jason on getting these questions firmed up, make sure they're somewhat relative, not that things have changed that much, but go over the questions and get them out to the board. And okay, so you guys can keep in touch and then get us, when we get the questions, what you think is pertinent, get out to the board and we'll move on that one, all right?
So the next board meeting is set for September 3rd, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so we could anticipate evening interviews the week of September 7th through 11th? Is that your
Yes.
thought?
Yes. So we'll take a look at the calendars and,
Or we could set some days aside and then just fill in the names as they become available.
right, these are the dates, this is where our times, when can the people be, can attend, and we'll try to make it as accommodating for everybody as possible.
The library board meets that Wednesday, so if we could not do Wednesday.
Well,
The 9th?
we'll try not to meet not to miss our other liaisons, but
I know.
if we have to, I think the library board will get along,
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday,
yeah.
That's Labor Day.
Oh, that's true. So
Labor
okay.
Day.
Yeah, it's late this year.
Okay, so we'll have to work it out and
Yeah,
look at the calendars.
When is Labor Day this year?
the 7th.
You're kidding me.
No, it's late.
I had no idea.
Mike, you have anything to say about that, Mike? I just listened,
Just to add in, so we'll plan for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of that week.
Okay, are we all set with that? Okay, well, we'll get that going. Senior Veterans Enhanced Tax Relief Program. Unfortunately, we don't have a red line version, but Claire Morris has worked on some of that. We're getting close. Claire, with the ordinances?
Yes.
And the senior tax, you can come up here.
Yeah, I haven't worked on the senior tax.
Just speak into the mic.
Yeah.
People can hear you.
I have not worked on the senior tax, but I've been working on the ordinances.
Okay,
So I don't know if you want me to give an update on that right now.
I'll do that on
Okay.
down the line, okay.
So the senior ordinance is a little different than, I understand there's some ordinance project going on in
Yeah,
Taylor that.
all the ordinances.
So we'll hear, I guess we'll hear an update on that. But the senior ordinance is, we need an amended ordinance to review that would implement the task force's recommendations for us to discuss and change or approve or whatnot. But I think we need to go through that process. And to the extent October 1st is an important date, because I've heard people throw around October 1st, we would need to have a draft ordinance by our next meeting in order to be able to then schedule a public hearing if we choose to adopt an ordinance. We need to give I forget what the charter says, I think it's 2 weeks notice, something, but we could then do that at our following meeting after that, before October.
All right, so we'll have that draft, red line draft, ready for, we'll get it out before the next meeting, and I will follow up with Jeff Tinley on that. I expect him here tonight.
The other aspect of that agenda item is the veterans, and we need to talk to Jeff Tinley about or the assessor's office or whomever, as to what's required for that, because I don't see an ordinance on the books. I don't know if that's like a resolution we need to pass or what we need to do, but that we also need to line up for the next meeting, I would say.
Ordinance or just a regular resolution?
Yeah, I'm not sure the appropriate process.
Okay. Anything else?
Make a motion to postpone that topic to consider draft documents at the next meeting.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Mike is aye. Any opposition or abstentions? And it carries. Discussion of written legal opinion from town attorney regarding PA 490. Do you have that written attorney? Did everybody, I got this late today.
I didn't see it. I maybe missed it. Was it sent via email or was it not sent?
No,
at all?
I didn't get too late to
Okay.
get out an email.
So I didn't miss anything.
No, you didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Jason, you've been back and forth with this. I think from a legal standpoint, you may be better at explaining. The question one is, does the assessor has the authority, I think that should be have the authority to change PA 490 open space assessment between town real property reevaluations. You can read the general statute 12-55 permits, but does not require an assessor to conduct an interim assessment of real property. And if the assessor deems such an assessment necessary to equalize the grand list, the meaning and application of this principle to the specific question of interim reevaluation of PA 490 open space land represents certain complexities is not free from doubt.
Can I
Go ahead,
make a
Jason.
suggestion?
Sure.
Since this didn't get to everybody. So we all had an executive session 2 weeks ago. Jeff Tinley had put together a memo on various aspects of the PA 490 program, answering the two questions that are still in this memo, whether the assessor has authority in between revals and whether we have the authority to issue a moratorium on new applications. Because those are the two things the Board of Finance asked us to sort of move on, along with the senior veterans thing that we were talking about earlier. What came out of that meeting last week was some additional discussion, and Jeff Tinley revised the memo to include some stuff on interim valuations, and he shared it with me earlier in the week, and he and I talked, I don't remember if it was this week or last week. One of the follow-up questions I had for him, and I'm not sure if he got an answer to it yet, and I know he's going to be here later, so maybe we can get it, is there seems to be some dispute over an issue that we should, over a knowable fact. A group of folks are saying that Woodbury has changed their PA 490 assessment in between revals, and another group of folks are saying Woodbury has not done that. So I just asked for, for us to confirm that fact, because I think that fact is leading to some angst on various sides of this discussion.
So I did talk with our assistant our assessor that was hired from Woodbury today. And they had also reached out, she had reached out to the Woodbury assessor, and we discussed it, and said, what it said was, it was done during reevaluation. It was not done outside of reval. And so that's what I was told by who worked in Woodbury. It was done during reval. It gets very complicated doing it outside of reval, and they were there. And if you're close to a regular reval, it's really, you'd be better off to wait, in her opinion, to wait until the regular reval, because you're going to get questions about that, and then you're going to go to reval again, and you're going to get questions again about that. So that was is what I got from her today, that it was done in Woodbury during the reevaluation.
Okay.
It doesn't. She said it doesn't mean you. She qualified that in saying the assessor could do outside of that. There's a way to do it, but they chose to do it during reval as a clean process.
Because that's one of the things that's been pointed to, right, George, as part of the task force, that Woodbury and
Oh, yeah.
some other, so
It's come up so many times, I don't know what the answer is. I mean,
that's why that's
you
why
ask a good question,
Well, you
I'm
asked
not
me to
sure
ask
what the answer is.
Yeah.
But I had a similar conversation to you a week ago, but that conversation yielded a different result. So it's, can I suggest that since this memo wasn't circulated to members of the board, that we circulate it to board members and Board of Finance members, put it on our agenda to the next meeting, and invite whoever from the Board of Finance who'd like to come and give us their thoughts on this, so we can sort of.
Well, it seems every time we invite for their thoughts, they want, and it's not the opinion they're looking for. Then they want to hire their own attorney to come up with an opinion that comes back and says essentially, yeah, your town attorney's opinion was correct.
So this is different though than see, folks haven't read this, so this is different than the opinion that we've discussed here at this board, because this opinion actually is leaving open the door for an assessor to do certain valuations, but perhaps there may be some reasons not to take that course of action, which is a much different opinion than saying an assessor has no authority to increase or decrease the assessments in between the reval. So I believe it was that was being challenged, that, you know, whether or not the assessor had the authority. This seems to be opening the door a little bit, but perhaps providing some rationale for why perhaps we should wait until the reval. So I just think we all need to just talk about it and resolve this issue that we have with that's been raised to us by the Board of Finance, so we can, you know, move on from it and deal at the same time with the other issues, which I think we certainly can deal with, the senior veterans, which we'll do.
Okay, so we'll do that. You want to motion to table?
Motion to postpone this to the next meeting to invite a member of the Board of Finance or whomever would like to come discuss it.
Second?
Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion?
I'm going to recuse myself from the vote as a participant of PA 490.
What's that?
I'm going to recuse myself from the vote.
On PA 490? Okay. Yeah, and there has been a memo from or an opinion, or a case from the Ethics Committee. And in full disclosure, I participate in PA 490 on one piece of property that belongs to my brothers and I. So this is to notify the Board of Selectmen and the public that, based on the advisory opinion, case number 20-002A, just to let you know, my brothers and myself inherited our parents' home that is in PA 490 excess open space. For the record, My personal home qualifies for PA 490 excess open space, and my wife and I have chosen, since 1999 when we built the home, not to participate in the program. We pay the full amount on our home and our acreage. I have asked the assessor's office to calculate the amount on the home jointly owned by my brothers. And in full disclosure, I will tell you that right now with the PA 490 open space, the excess acreage works out to a total on the bill of $43.95. My share of that is $14.65. With the proposed value of what they're proposing to go to when it's assessed, it will raise that tax to a total of $164.28, which a third of that would be, for me, an increased cost of $54.76. With no PA 490 evaluation, my share would go from $43.95 to $219, not a considerable amount of money. For the record, I want to state that I have never disagreed with changing PA 490 excess open space evaluation amount. It has been shown that it is the assessor's discretion with input from the Board of Selectmen to set the evaluation. I would like to remind the Board of Selectmen how PA 490 discourse started here. There were those on the Board of Finance that did not think that it was fair that farmers, owners of forestry, etc., that they were receiving reduced tax rates on the land. This led to bringing down people from different agencies and to explain that all these programs, the value of the programs and the qualification, that it was all state statute and there was no, it was nothing we can do about that. But it was members of the Board of Finance. I have on my personal email from a member of the Board of Finance copying another member. In that email, it says there are some members who believe that it is not fair for a few well-heeled owners to receive this benefit. And they were talking about agriculture, PA 490, which was state statute. I have the email where this was stated, and I take umbrage of this statement and wonder what makes this person think that the Platts or the Stiles or the Blursches and even the Manvilles are well-heeled. All of us made a choice not to sell and take literally millions of dollars off the table and build our portfolios. PA 490 has been a backbone of our community. And to think that some of us are well-heeled because we did not sell off bothers me. So I will recuse myself from the vote based on the case from the board of the from the ethics board. So we're looking to table this.
We're not doing a vote on anything on here.
We're voting to
tonight, are we?
table. Emily's recusing us. I'm recusing myself from the vote. I just wanted for the public record that I have PA 490. It was inherited that way. And again, you know, I do pay tax, full tax on my property.
I have questions when I have a chance to
Go ahead.
ask. I mean, I own about 8.7 acres, so I think an R60 zone, which means 1.38 is dedicated to the house itself and the garage. I could qualify for PA 490 on about 7.5 acres. Now, so far, I have not chosen to do that. I pay the full rate on the land. But I could choose, and maybe I will, I don't know. I mean, I've thought about it, I just never pulled the trigger. So does that mean I have to recuse myself as well because I potentially benefit from this?
I think, George, I think, you know, if
I don't know.
technically you
confused.
could benefit from a program and you're voting on it, I think,
Can't really, yeah.
I mean,
I think if we go that far, are we then not saying that every
Lordy.
person who could benefit in the senior program when they hit age 65 would have to recuse themselves, so then we can work on nothing? I mean, I think this, how far are we taking this
I
then?
don't know.
well, that's the question. When we look at assessment and how far do you want to take this? And, you know, I'm looking at, an increase to me of $40.
I get it. Can we, Joe, can we invite Joe up to weigh in on this perhaps?
I don't know if Joe's an expert on this.
He's
Mike,
terrific.
Mike's on the line. Mike wants to speak. Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Jeff. So, yeah, I sort of do follow Emily's lead there. I think that if
I
you're
can't
not
hear him.
currently participating in the program, I wouldn't have any discomfort in you participating in a vote. We are tabling this, I think the motion is to table this. I think it's worth getting town council's opinion on this issue. Because I think you provided a very detailed explanation, which I'm grateful for. Emily has told us she's going to abstain from voting without explanation. I think for the record, we're supposed to provide when we abstain at least some rationale so the public understands why we're not participating in the vote. But for George's point, I sort of agree with Emily. At some point, I'm going to be in my 60s as well, and may one day participate in a program. So I think that it would be worthwhile getting, council's opinion at least on our participation, especially if we all do vote here to table it and use that time to also make sure we are properly aligned. So thank you.
So what we'll do is, two of us we can then, we have the vote to table. I don't think that's not a vote on the actual PA 490.
Which is where I have some confusion, I mean, personally as well. We're saying we're discussing a matter, yes, I'm a participant in it, but to discuss it doesn't change my personal benefit in any way. I mean, Jason.
I don't think we should put Jason,
No,
I mean,
and I'm not gonna, I don't have the conflicts, ordinance in front of me, but, what I was going to suggest, is we're postponing this to the next meeting to invite people here to have a discussion about this, right? It's a question of materiality at the end of the day, I assume, under our ethics ordinance, right? So, in these next 2 weeks, I suppose what the Ethics Commission has asked for is they've asked for disclosures, right? Disclosures have been made, and perhaps now you go back to the Ethics Committee and say, these are my disclosures. Do you deem them to be, material, to rise to a level of conflict, and take it out of your hand? The best thing to do in these situations is take it out of your hands. So either you recuse yourself, or you just let them decide, and then that's that's it. I mean, the $54 and doesn't seem material to me, but I think that's sort of the way to go. I think they were looking for disclosures, and I think you've done that. And there's probably a process that I see Joe raising his hand.
I was going to say, I'd like to recognize Joe and have him weigh in as the chair of ethics. I think that would be important if everyone's okay with that.
well, we can let's just refer it back to the ethics. Come on up.
So the one line that's.
Wait, Joe,
Mike.
You have to
Mike.
get to the mic.
microphone. Joe, Mike, we didn't mean Mike.
I
The mic.
apologize. I just wanted to highlight one line in this opinion. And you've done disclosure. Thank goodness. Thank you very much, everybody.
Hold on. Go ahead, wait a minute, Mike, Joe's gonna speak? Joe Ruggiero? Go ahead, Joe.
You okay?
You there, Mike?
I'm mute.
Okay.
Okay. The one line said, recusal during voting on aspects of a program should be seriously considered if one is a participant in the program. It didn't say recuse. It said seriously consider. Those were chosen very specifically. If you choose not to recuse yourself, that's on you. If you choose to recuse yourself, that's on you. We just wanted to make you think about it. That's all it was.
Okay.
The other aspect of it was, you really need to disclose, because that's in the code. That's all. That's all I want to say.
Okay. Okay.
That's it.
I still feel confused.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So I'm disclosing that I do participate in the program and, all $14 worth. Okay. With that in mind, do we need to, let's table this? Do we need legal opinion or refer it to?
Well, I think we're talking about legal opinion on the actual materials,
Right,
Jason. On that, yes. Not
Yes.
on the
Right.
recusal.
so, and I'm hoping Jeff Tinley gets here soon. I don't know where he is. Okay,
So, just to,
Yeah, I'm fine with
just,
that, TJ.
just to let you know what the standard is in the ordinance, then people go all think about it. Material conflict, a conflict of interest shall be deemed to be material where a reasonable person would conclude that the financial interest or adverse interest, A, is incompatible or would to a reasonable person appear to be incompatible with the proper discharge of official duties, or B, would tend to impair or would to a reasonable person appear to impair independence of judgment and action in the performance of official duties. That's the standard as written, which I'm sure is subject to lots of interpretation. And, perhaps you just think about it and I guess go whatever steps you think or want to go. I think we've done it in the past when we had we had that task force on town-owned properties, right? So we went, Justin was going to be involved in it, so we went to the Ethics Commission. Justin went to the Ethics and said, can I be involved in this? And they issued an opinion and they said, you can be an advisory member. We would really strongly encourage you not to be a voting member of the committee. That's what we did. Justin was, an advisory member. So I don't think it's, I think you have your interests, judge it for yourself, perhaps send it back to ethics, perhaps go to Jeff Tinley and, make a determination.
okay. So I'd entertain, we have I think there's a motion on the floor to table.
To postpone to the next meeting. And
Postpone the
invite
next meeting,
members.
okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Mike, okay. Opposed? Abstentions? And that carries. Okay. Next up is under new business appropriation of funds for storm cleanup under declared emergency. This is so that we can clean up the vegetated material that was blown down in the town right away when the trees collapsed onto power lines. It was cleaned up. We put this together. We're not sure total amount. It's kind of an estimate of what we're doing. Obviously, I think the tornado cost us $1 million or something crazy. But obviously there's material on the sides of the roads. And what we're doing is looking for Ed the tree man to come in. He's on state bid, 50-yard container, pick it up, take it up and get it ground down. And see what we can get cleaned up on the sides of the roads. Any questions on this? Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve.
you'll make a motion, Mike makes a motion to approve, can we have a second?
Second?
Emily seconded it, any further discussion?
I'll just mention, I asked a question earlier in the day and got clarity that this appropriation is under our charter provision dealing with responding to an emergency, which allows the Board of Selectmen to make certain appropriations, and then it'll have to be determined which fund it's gonna come out of. So.
All right. Any other discussion? Mike, you're all set? Mike's all set. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And it carries unanimously. All right. Next on the agenda is Selectmen's report.
Oh, we
Oh,
have a
Pierce
new
Hollow
item.
Village.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Pierce Hollow Village.
Okay. Sorry, wrong agenda I was looking at. Next on the agenda is a discussion on Pierce Hollow Village. Everybody got the selectmen know that the commissioner is coming Monday, and you're all more than welcome to come, those who can, to meet the commissioner and give, if you have words of encouragement, to be there. So I know some people have a conflict and it's short notice. We want to make sure that the board is still fully behind Pierce Hollow Village and that project for senior housing. And I think we could probably use a resolution. Jason?
Yeah, I think it's a really important project for our town, and fortunately I'm going to be away next week on vacation, but unfortunately this was scheduled then because I would have liked to attend, as I've worked on the board's behalf before with the Pierce Hollow Village folks in lobbying for the state. But I think it's a good opportunity that they've got the attention of the Commissioner of Housing, who's actually going to come down here and look at the project, so I think it'd be great if board members can go. But since we are going to have conflicts and we're not all going to be there, I'm wondering if it makes sense for all of us to sort of reaffirm our support tonight by way of motion or something, so that at least when Jeff's there, whoever's there on Monday, can advise the commissioner that we talked about this on Thursday night and it's an important priority for the town, and we would really encourage the state to do whatever they can to allow the project to move forward.
George?
I concur with Jason. I think an affirmative motion would be appropriate. We have had motions approving this project in the past, and none of our opinions on it have changed as far as I know. Certainly mine hasn't, so I think a motion would be appropriate.
Emily, I don't think you were on the board when this was starting. So I think it's important to get your voice and on the record opinion on how, and what you feel about this senior housing.
Yeah, as someone else who has a conflict like Jason as well, and I know that I've attended meetings for this as well. So my full support. I hope that the meeting goes well with the commissioner on Monday. Happy to support that motion. I don't know, Jason, do you want to make it? And we'll.
So I guess I could make a motion that Southbury Board of Selectmen reaffirms its support for the Pierce Hollow Village project, and asks to convey to the Commissioner of Housing at the meeting on Monday that the Board of Selectmen urges the state to do whatever it can to move the project forward.
And I will second that. You have my support on record.
And Emily is second. Any discussion on that?
I'll be there Monday.
Yeah, that's Mike. I fully concur, so I'm in favor.
Mike, will you, I hope you, if you're able to,
I'm gonna try. I have to switch a meeting, but I'm hoping to make it.
okay, because I think that's important. I think it shows support, and I think they're going to be looking for numbers of, it's an understandable sum, but if none of us, it's good that more of us show up. Okay, I'll call the vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, abstentions, and it carries. Thank you. Okay, first selectmen's report. There's been discussions, people wondering about social services. Claire Morris has been working on this. Claire, can you come up and explain what we're coming up with and how we might work this out, just for the board's information?
Sure. So the First Selectman's Office has decided to hire a Master of Social Work student intern from Sacred Heart University, and she's going to be starting in September. She's going to be helping do the responsibilities for the social services while we figure out how to move forward with this position, how we're going to structure it. So we've had great luck with our interns in the past, so we thought this would be a great opportunity. It's offered at no cost to the town, so we're definitely looking forward to having her on board.
Great.
So
They're supervised by somebody?
Yeah, so I will be her internal supervisor, but she will have a Master of Social Work supervisor from Sacred Heart as well that she'll meet with. So she'll be covered, help out with that.
An advisor of
Yeah, an
sorts at the
advisor,
university.
yeah. So I think she meets with the advisor an hour a week to go over any issues, so.
Great.
So this intern already has a BS degree?
Yes, she has her bachelor's in Human Development and Family Studies, and she's going into the Master of Social Work program this year.
So it's a free program. We've done interns on, interns have been working very well for us. And I was surprised this is actually no cost to the town.
Yeah, I think they just do it for class credit, so it's free for us.
Great.
How long will she be on board?
Her hours will be 15 a week, and she'll be on until June, until she completes her hours. I think she has to do 450, so.
So that's nearly a whole year.
Yeah, September to June.
Is that enough time to handle the responsibility, the 15 hours a week, you think?
I think so. We'll also be providing support. So, I mean, since we haven't had anyone, we've been covering everyone. There's been no gaps in services, so it's going to be good to have her on board, and we'll definitely be all set there.
Jason?
George pretty much asked most of the questions I had. In Tamith's report, she mentions the renter's rebate.
So renter's rebate falls under her part of her job description. So she's handling the renter's rebate, which is pretty much the bulk of what we have as far as social services. That's the big piece of it. The rest of it is a lot of referrals, things of this nature. Right now, when those calls come in, it comes into my office, and Noreen's been doing a great job of referring them to the right people. So now we'll get this intern in, we'll know more about a structure, and you know, we've run into, you know, and the chances are maybe this person, when they complete their master's, they're looking for a part-time job or whatever, and we'll, you know, we've been taking care of everything all the way along. A lot of people are, you know, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? We have been handling every call that's come in, and nobody's fallen through the cracks. So this is a good program to work with a social worker type of thing.
So,
Mike? Go ahead, Mike.
You know, I think this is a great opportunity and a good stopgap for the town in this role. The one thing I might recommend is, especially if we're going to not be paying this intern, and it may well be through June, that we at least consider coming up with some type of stipend to cover his or her expenses for traveling to the town as a show of good faith and in partnership, especially if once this individual does get their degree, we may consider wanting to bring somebody on full time.
Yeah, there are some restrictions in the
Yeah.
program.
We had actually talked about that. I'm just not sure if the program allows us to pay her, because we wanted to pay her during breaks, and we were told we're not allowed to hire during breaks or anything. So I can double check, but I'm not sure if we would be able to pay her even if we wanted to.
Yeah, that was, yeah. Any other questions? So I just want to make sure the board understands, nobody is not getting services. They are getting services. And again, Tamith's role in her job description is to take care of the renter's rebate, and she's working on that right now. All right? Thank you. So just to let everybody know, Public Works put about a little over $460,000 hours of overtime alone due to the tropical storm. At this time, we hope to pay for this out of the DPW's overtime budget. But be aware, if the winter is difficult, we have a lot of overtime, we may have to deal with that down the road. As you've heard, the town was successful in the second application for fuel tanks for 61 Peter Road. So far, the approximate additional cost to the taxpayers is about $68,000. I got that from Dan Colton. Depending on the project's expenses going forward, there may be a need to transfer money to get through that project. The other thing I want to bring up is, Claire, I think long-term recovery from the, we're dealing with a long-term recovery on COVID. Oh, Claire doesn't have to come up for that. Let me bring that up here. Here it is. Southbury's Long-Term Recovery Committee had its initial kickoff meeting on July 29th with great success. The committee is co-chaired by Kevin Bielmeyer and Dan Colton and comprised of members of the community from many different sectors. There are representatives from the business community, agriculture, houses of worship, emergency management, education, seniors, and its inclusivity. The goal of the committee is to advocate for the unmet needs of the Southbury community and aid in long-term recovery from COVID-19 crisis. Dan and Kevin will provide periodic updates to the board as the committee continues to meet and progress with its long-term recovery goals. Hold on, Mike, can you hold? Oh, no, that was Jeff on the phone. I will have to follow up with him. Sorry, I'll have to call him right back. Okay, where were we? Public Works, phones are ringing, Mike's on the phone. Expenses. Okay. Claire spoke about ordinances should be ready mid-September. With that, Claire's already talked about that. The whole employee handbook should be back from our labor attorney, I'm told, next Tuesday. We'll send that then out to the board to get a look at that so we can get our employee handbook done and finished up. That's been one of the things we wanted to do. Jason, you have a question on that? I know you were asked about it before.
Not on that, but it reminded me of the other thing that I keep asking about, and that's the compensation study that we talked about at this.
Where are we on that, Dan?
We had a couple meetings, Jason, with our HR department, and we actually, last week, we put together the range, midpoint, high point for every town hall employee. We're comparing it to like towns with CCM data, updated CCM data. So we met with Pete, the HR consultant, last Monday. Hopefully in a week or two we'll be completed and have a recommendation for you guys.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Town Hall has opened and it's going pretty well. We're not hearing any complaints and people have been in and out and we're doing very well. It was a kind of a soft opening and people are showing up. Emergency management, the new emergency management director gave me a start date for September 21st. Obviously, with what has happened, you really want him to, not step in while everything's going on. So he'll be starting this September 21st. IT director interviews have been underway. I'm hoping to have, by our next meeting, hopefully have someone here for approval. Chip sealing is continuing, and interestingly, we're not getting the enormous amount of phone calls that we normally would. I think our community has learned to accept our chip sealing as a way to do it, but I will say that it makes a big difference when we can sweep up, not leave it out there for 3 weeks. We, just get swept up and next part is done. Sunday night, August 30th. Just to let everybody know, if you haven't seen it, 84 traffic on the highway. For those of you who have to get on the highway, they'll be doing the crossover Sunday night. So just so you know, it'll change. I think it should be pretty well. Okay. Do you want to go quickly through reports? Jeff Tinley was on the phone calling. You want to give reports quick, or you want to go me to get to the executive session?
We missed them
I
last
think we
time.
should go to reports then,
Okay.
because I think that would be pretty quick.
All right, Mike, you go first.
Yeah, I feel about, because Parks and Rec doesn't meet until next week. Planning, we spoke about, they had a special meeting, haven't had a regular meeting, but a special meeting, and approved the as was needed for the fuel tanks. And Region 15, I just encourage everybody to go to the Region 15 website, to understand the plans for the upcoming school year. September 1st for preschool and 1st through 12th grades, September 2nd for kindergarten. The elementary and middle schools will be going in person 5 days a week. The high school will be going on a socially distanced hybrid re-entry schedule. And there is also an option to have parents elect to have their child participate in a voluntary remote distance learning. All of the presentations that the superintendent has made are on the Region 15 website, right at the top of the page. So I encourage everybody to look there. That's all I've got.
God bless all the parents, the students, the teachers, the administration, and good luck with this in Denver. Thank you. Emily?
Library met a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend, but just keeping up the great work with their reopening. EMS committee has changed their meetings. They will now be meeting the fourth Tuesday of every month, not. And so their next meeting will be September 1st, and then they'll meet again on the September 22nd. Still working on the EMS plan for the town, hoping to have something for everyone to look at soon.
Jason?
LEPC was canceled last week. I assume once our new emergency
Steven.
management director starts, they'll probably get back to some sort of regular recurring meetings. Historic tree has not met. Historic buildings met on Tuesday at Bill Hill School. They had a couple of questions about, obviously a lot of their stuff that they do has been canceled like everything else, but they do anticipate opening up some of their buildings for various things, and they were asking about protocols and what they needed to do and whatnot, and I encouraged them to contact your office. And I said, we've been working with, town's working with Bob, with the various departments on reopening programs, and so they should do that. They talked about some work that they're working with Public Works on bidding out and getting costs for some stuff at Bullet Hole. You're going to be hearing about or have heard about a fence that came down at Old Town Hall. They're down 2 members, so they're looking for ideas on how to repopulate. They're going to look at their bylaws at the next meeting, and at the end of the meeting, Representative Melinda from the Historic Society talked about, and this was in Shirley's report for the library as well, that she's doing a display at the library in the month of September on the Boone and Southbury's response to that. So encourage people to check that out.
Okay. Selectman Betty?
Economic Development met yesterday for the first time, since February, I believe. We got a great update from Kevin about things that he's working on, which include getting some real estate people out to our 2 vacant properties, the Stevenson and Volpe Rosen properties. Apparently that's happening next week. And apparently we did get some grant money to do the phase 1 environmental.
Do we get grant money for
No? Do we have
phase
an
1?
application in? Okay, I might have heard that wrong.
Okay.
Some of the members were in person, some were remote, but it was good to, get the gang back together. IPOC will meet on Monday for the first time in about 6 months. And the senior commission has not met yet. We do, of course, keep getting updates from Tamith, and they are working on their reopening plans, tentatively shooting for September at this point. So that's all I have for now.
George?
Jeff, you mentioned the interview process for the IT director. We received 46 resumes. We interviewed 8 candidates over 2 days. These were 45-minute interviews each. The selection has been narrowed down to a few finalists, and Jeff and Peter will take over the interviews from here. There was a lot of discussion over the salary for this position. I won't say any more about that, but there was a lot of discussion about that. As far as Edgewood, well, we're going into executive session. John Michaels released a memo about the bidding process and the cost involved with bidding. And I think some folks have expressed public opinion that we need bids, but the problem with bids is they're expensive. And they're expensive because you have to get a full set of design documents before anybody can bid on anything. So I think that was John's point in his memo, is that it behooves us to use estimates to evaluate a project, especially one that's uncertain before it even goes to referendum. If you want to spend $300,000 or $400,000 to get true bids on, say, a Ballantine rebuild, then that's something we need to talk about, and it goes against the general practice that we've had in town for decades. Mobile telecom. Joe was ready to give a presentation tonight, but because of his travel schedule, he asked if we could put it off to next meeting. So I would ask that, I don't know, Joe, what do you think you need, about 30, 40 minutes? And he has a full map. I guess he's driven around all the streets in town and mapped the signal strength on each of the 4 different cell carriers. He mentioned to me that he also did a mapping during the power outage, so I don't know if that's relevant to very much, but it will show us how bad things were during the time when some of the cell towers went down. Road study, there's nothing, although Jeff talked about chip sealing. Radio refresh, I haven't heard anything from Chris Grillo on that. Jeff, if you know anything. Nothing new on that. Tax abatement, we've kind of beaten that up. Not going to say anything more about that. The Strategic Planning Commission, we have a couple of openings there, and it seems like it's hard to find people. The process is complex, I guess, and we were looking for a lot of other openings to fill as well, like IT director, and the time just hasn't really lent itself to finding new commissioners. But I'll mention it again, there are 2 openings on SPC. I went to the SRTC and asked them if they had any ideas, and they didn't suggest anybody either, so it's kind of nobody wants to step up on that. There's an energy task force forming, and I've been asked to participate in that a little bit, but I haven't done very much. We've had several meetings. Chuck Liddy is heading that up, and he is looking to get some estimates together on what it would cost to put solar panels on top of a few town buildings, including the senior center and the town hall. It doesn't mean we're going to do any of those things. These are more just educational type estimates to get a sense of what the costs would be. That's what I got for you.
Okay, any other business? If not, I will entertain a motion to move into the executive session for the purposes of discussion of real estate transaction due diligence, Edgewood Bath and Tennis Club, inviting our town attorney in, and also Chris Cole from Ty and Bond, who will be remote.
So moved.
Made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And we're going into executive session. Stay on the phone.
I'm gonna call there.
You're gonna call
I'm
back?
gonna call in there. Are you gonna go into the conference room?
Okay, yeah, you're gonna call in there. Okay.